one of the, if not the biggest podcast on their platform, maybe even in the world, versus Neil Young. Who's gonna win that one? Before we move on, nerds, into this episode, I just want to take a brief moment and remind those of you who have yet to do so, whichever platform you are currently ingesting this information and all of the nerd rumors and news and such, please don't forget to like on whatever platform that is, and follow or subscribe or whatever the thing is that is unique to that platform, because they're really all the same stuff. Anyway, do that, and let's get back into all of the awesome pop culture nerd news. Real quick, nerds, we have one more thing to get out of the way, and that is merch. We have a merch store. If you check out generallynerdy.net, go to the General Store tab. There are 3 links in there. 2 of those stores I control directly. The other one is a partnership that I had with some other nerds that designed me a shirt. So go check out all 3 stores. There's some pretty great stuff in all of them. And that out of the way, let's get back into all of the awesome. Well, hello, nerds. Welcome to another episode of The Week in Nerddom. We are still in the off season. This is the last episode of the off season. And in today's episode, we are talking about Joe Rogan in music news, which is very interesting. We also have a Snow White Game of Thrones mashup that we're going to have to address. That one's a little interesting. There is a fair amount more. So without any further ado, actually, let's just get right into the housekeeping before we get into any of the fun things. Housekeeping, like I said, this is going to be the last episode of the off season. Next week, we are going to be rolling out the new format for the show. There are still a couple of assets that I have left to design and a little bit of the music that needs to be done, but honestly, nothing I can't do in a day or two. So between now and next Wednesday, you should be seeing a brand new season 3 of The Week in Nerddom. All of that being said, I think that's all of the housekeeping we really have right now. So next we're going to knock out the shout outs. So shout outs, honestly, not as big as I was anticipating, which kind of is a little weird, but whatever. We're going to go in a different order because I try and go in a different order every episode. So first up, we have shout outs for Twitter. On the Twitters, we have @Kamidogu_ has followed me. Awesome. I'm super excited about that. There's an announcement associated with that follow that we will discuss in a future episode, so stay tuned for that. But Kamidogu, thank you very much, nerd, for the follow. Mortal Kombat page on the Twitter and the Instagrams and website. Anyway, continuing on. We have @ThunderDome Game 1, which is ThunderDome Gaming Society. Thank you very much, nerds, for the follow. As well as a real quick shout out to @Geekvine. The guy who runs that page is named Martin. He runs the Nerdy Legion podcast network, and he actually contributed to this episode. Not directly. I don't think he actually even knows that he really contributed to this episode, but he did. And so, yes, we are very grateful for Martin. That is what we have, though, for the Twitter shout outs. If you want your very own Twitter shout out, then follow me @generally_nerdy, and let's move right along. Next, we have Gettr to get out of the way. If you are Twitter-averse, then you can completely ignore that and go to Gettr and or Gab, which I have both. We'll get to Gab in a moment. But Gettr shoutouts, we have one new follower @Timbot. Hello, nerd. Thank you very much for the follow. Super excited to have somebody who in their account description lists himself as a nerdy type. So very excited to have you following us right here on Generally Nerdy. Thank you very much, Timbot. Again, if you want your shout out for following on Gettr, then @GenerallyNerdy is the place to follow. Next, as I mentioned a moment ago, we do have a Gab now as well. So Gab is @GenerallyNerdy. We have three new followers on the Gab, and that is Le Fleur @Bethzaida, who his name is Casper. Thank you very much, nerd, for the follow, as well as Kali Nua 0. Thank you very much, Gab nerds, for the follow. Once again, if you want your shout out on Gab @GenerallyNerdy, I'm sure you kind of guessed that one already, didn't you? And then we have TikTok shout-outs to get out of the way. Honestly, not as many as I was thinking. Generally, we have a giant number in the TikTok section. Not so much this week, but it is what it is. TikTok shout-outs are as follows. allneauvoq. Thank you very much, nerd, for the follow. xanontwitchtv. Thank you as well. Or xanon. That's probably what it is. xanontwitchtv. And then Haley3RDPFB. Thank you very much, nerds, for the follow. If you're looking for me on the TikToks, there is actually a little bit more content that does make its way over to the TikTok. So go follow me at Generally Nerdy on there as well. Rounding out the shout-out section, we have Instagram to get out of the way, and we have one here as well. This one, much like the Twitter, Kamidogu. Thank you very much, nerds, for the follow. Specifically, thank you very much, Mortal Kombat nerds, for the follow, because yes, please, and thank you. Again, unique content makes its way up to the Instagram, just like the TikTok, different from the TikTok most times. But either way, go check it out. At Generally Nerdy is the place to follow and get your shout-out. Real quick, nerds, we have one more thing to get out of the way, and that is merch. We have a merch store. If you check out generallynerdy.net, go to the General Store tab. There are 3 links in there. 2 of those stores I control directly. The other one is a partnership that I had with some other nerds that designed me a shirt. So go check out all 3 stores. There's some pretty great stuff in all of them. And that out of the way, let's get back into all of the awesome. All right, so shout-outs, housekeeping, all of the things out of the way. Let's get into the actual news. And this is another bit of a hybrid episode. This is how I kind of knew it was time to get back into the regular season. That and, you know, I'm coming to the end of all of the new asset creation. So let's jump into music news. We have one big piece, and I mean big piece of music news. This is Joe Rogan and Neil Young apparently fighting. Not really. I don't think Joe Rogan knows that he's fighting with Neil Young, because I don't think most people really care about Neil. We'll get to that. Anyway, so what happened was, if you have not been aware yet, there was a few weeks ago, we'll start at the beginning of this. A few weeks ago, there was a petition signed by over 250 medical, quote-unquote, professionals sent to Spotify, telling Spotify that they should remove Joe Rogan or do more to stop him from asking people questions effectively. But if you go in and you kind of take a look at the actual people who signed this petition, I believe less than a quarter of those signatures were actual practicing medical professionals. I believe the number was somewhere between 70 and 80 of those 250. And then sometime last week, that 250 number ballooned up over 1,000. And again, I have not done the diligence to take a look at the 1,000, but it probably rings true that it's somewhere in that same percentage. A very small percentage of these 1,000 quote-unquote medical professionals are petitioning Spotify to remove Joe Rogan because he's got misinformation and it's harmful. When he doesn't have any information at all, he's just asking questions of people who do have information and who do have credentials in the arena and who are actually practicing the medicine which they are preaching. Anyway, so all of that kind of came to a head, at least as far as the music community is concerned, kind of. Because Neil Young just a few days ago there was a post on his website. I guess it wasn't directly from him. We don't know where exactly the post came from, but it was someone in Neil Young's camp. And what the post on his website was a letter from Neil Young to his management, telling management to tell Spotify that if they do not remove Joe Rogan from Spotify, then Neil Young is going to remove his music from Spotify. So let's do a little bit of math here real quick, all right? Let's actually, something we haven't done during pretty much the entire offseason. We kind of did this in the Matrix review, but it didn't really make its way to where it should again. Let's do reasonably nerdy caps on, shall we? All right, so Spotify is a business in the habit of making money. So one of the, if not the biggest podcast on their platform, maybe even in the world, versus Neil Young. Who's gonna win that one? Especially when, if you actually look into the research that is being presented by these medical professionals who do appear on Joe Rogan's podcast, you're probably going to be surprised by the things they say. So, is Spotify going to lose any sleep if Neil Young actually does pull off of their platform? This would not be the first time he's done this either. Are they going to lose any sleep over this? Absolutely not. Are they going to absolutely stand behind Joe Rogan? Maybe not absolutely, but over Neil Young, sure. I'll give them that. Absolutely. So, yeah, reasonable assumption to get to on this one is, yeah, Joe Rogan wins. In any arena, Joe Rogan wins. So, yeah, let's take those bad boys off and let's move right along, shall we? Before we move on, nerds, into this episode, I just want to take a brief moment and remind those of you who have yet to do so, whichever platform you are currently ingesting this information and all of the nerd rumors and news and such, please don't forget to like on whatever platform that is, and follow or subscribe or whatever the thing is that is unique to that platform, because they're really all the same stuff. Anyway, do that, and let's get back into all of the awesome pop culture nerd news. So next, we actually have comic book news, which is, again, something we haven't really talked about at all in the off-season. And we not only have two pieces of comic book news, but we also have a comic book rumor to get to in the rumor section, so stick around for that. But right now, we're talking first about Justice League number 75. DC's sales numbers are abysmal at the moment, so they're going to do something that they perceive as being major with issue number 75 of the Justice League, and that is they're going to kill the Justice League, which is kind of something they're doing in the video games as well, so it kind of makes me think that these might somehow correlate, though probably not. There is no confirmation of who exactly in the Justice League is going to be dead by the end of this story arc, but there is confirmation that at least one of the current members of the Justice League is going to survive whatever this big event is. When you don't know how to bring in the readers, do something crazy, I guess is the motto here. This will do a lot to boost sales. I'm just going to make a real quick prediction. This will do a whole bunch to boost sales for probably the first two issues. Beyond that, everyone's going to see, either they're going to figure out the story at that point and go, I don't really care to read the rest of this, or I'll wait for it to come out in the trade, or insert reason to not read the rest of the arc right now here. So yes, that I do think that is going to happen. We will see a pop that will increase their numbers kind of artificially for a little while, and then it's just delaying the inevitable decline, assuming they maintain their current social political stance in pretty much every area. Nobody's reading the big two anymore. Everybody's branching out and doing, anime and manga and Dark Horse and IDW. Well, maybe not even IDW. We're going to get to that. So yeah, Justice League's going to die. December, I believe, is when the issue 75 will be on shelves. It is an anniversary year for the Justice League, so I really don't have high hopes for this, unfortunately. But we're moving on. Next, we're talking about IDW. Speaking of strange social political stances for a comic book company to take, IDW just announced that they have lost the publishing rights for both G.I. Joe and Transformers. Not really a surprise, again, to anybody who is actively reading any of these books, because these are not the characters that the people who these books are marketed to, these are not who those characters should be anymore. They're trying to appeal to an audience that doesn't exist. They're trying to appeal to an audience, more accurately, that doesn't read comic books. I'm not saying that trying to diversify your characters is bad. I'm also by no means trying to say that trying to diversify your staff is bad, because I think the absolute any kind of diversity is a good thing when storytelling is involved, when anything is involved, really. But specifically storytelling, because different angles on different stories makes a story better. That being said, we're walking on thin ice here. The difficult way that they have presented G.I. Joe recently, being not an all-American hero, you should have saw this one coming. That is what we have in comic books for the news. Once again, we do have a pretty interesting rumor for the rumor mill that is a comic book related rumor, so stick around there. But first, we have to go to TV streaming, and this is where we see Martin from Nerdy Legion's contribution come into play. The first update, though, is Shenmue, the animation. We finally have a release date for the... I'm putting it in TV streaming. I'm pretty sure it is just going to be a movie, but it is direct to streaming movie, so I don't know, kind of a loophole I've built in there for myself. But February 5th of 2022 is going to be the release date of Shenmue, the animation, the animated Shenmue movie on Crunchyroll, I believe. I did not put that in the notes, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Which, if you have an HBO Max account, there you go. Speaking of HBO Max, this is Martin's contribution to the episode. Thank you very much once again, Martin, over at Nerdy Legion. Martin reminded me, because we talked about this when it was announced that it was going to happen, but it has finally happened, and that is Pennyworth is now on HBO Max. So if you did not watch it on Epix, because I'm sure not a lot of people did, which is why HBO Max now has it, then now is your opportunity to go watch it. I have honestly kind of heard some mixed things in that it is not the Pennyworth that we know necessarily from the comic books, though there are other people who say that it is not a bad thing that this is not the Pennyworth we got in the comics. And then there are still others who say Pennyworth from the comics, you can see him in this. They took some liberties, but by and large, it's still the same character. So I have yet to watch it. I think this is awesome, though. I'm probably going to end up watching it, probably while editing these videos. Either way, Pennyworth is now on HBO Max. Go check it out. And then we have a new trailer to address real quick as well before we get out of the TV streaming section, and that is the new season of Picard now has an actual trailer because it's hitting March 3rd, so they have to get that hype machine going, though it's the Picard series, so probably not a whole lot of work on that hype machine is necessary. That is all we have in TV streaming, though. Let's move over to movies. We have a couple here as well. First up, and this is technically a follow-up because we've talked about this movie before, but we have some, I'm starting a whole new short video series because of this. Well, I had the idea, and this was kind of the ignition for the idea. What am I saying? Snow White is getting a live action reboot. We, again, talked about this when it was originally announced, and now Peter Dinklage, who is a famous little person, that is relevant to this story, I wouldn't point it out otherwise, was on Mark Maron's WTF podcast and has some strong feelings about this. According to Dinklage, it is bad if they choose dwarves to play the seven dwarves. He just feels like it is a poor representation of little people if you're doing a live action version of Snow White, which is a classic story. So Peter Dinklage, again, said this about almost a week ago at this point, and so Disney has responded, and so I'm going to read their response. So pardon me if I sound a little wooden and stilted, but to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we are taking a different approach with these 7 characters and have been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. A spokesperson for Disney said in a statement to Variety. We look forward, now continuing the quote, we look forward to sharing more as the film heads into production after a lengthy development period. Lengthy development period. This movie is set to go into active photography later this year. So how lengthy of a development period are they really implying? And how lengthy of a development period is really necessary? If you're okay with Lord of the Rings having dwarves and every mythical story ever dealing with dwarves in such a way, this is potentially a more healthy representation of the, and Lord strike me down if I'm wrong, or, tell me I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't understand where the issue is, they're depicted as, by and large, I mean, obviously there's 7 of them, so they're not all this way, but by and large, they're depicted as hardworking men who take care of this woman that they barely know, and in no negative way. Like, there's no implied improprieties. There's no, they don't try and take advantage of her goodwill. Nothing. They're just really great to her. And then when she gets knocked unconscious, like, they take care of her then too. So I don't, what? What? And then throughout another point in the WTF interview, he says they live in a cave. 7 men that live in a cave? Come on, what kind of representation is that? When was the last time you watched Snow White, Pete? All right, Tyrion. Okay, here. They don't live in a cave, they live in a cottage. And it's near the mine in which they work. They are coal miners. They're very hardworking men who just happen to not want to pay a whole lot in rent, so they live together. Like, I don't understand the negativity here. Where is this a negative thing? Please, somebody help me. But that is the situation there. We're going to move on to a much lighter note, kind of, I hope. And we have a trailer to talk about, the Pinocchio trailer, the first trailer of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, the stop motion movie that is going to Netflix. It is not a Disney property. It's going to Netflix December of this year. It's a teaser, so it's very short, but I'm definitely intrigued by this one. Let me know what you think down in the comments, or, on the socials if you're just listening, because there are no comments. Either way. Our final piece in movies was just a little too bizarre to ignore, so we're going to talk about A Christmas Story real quick. So, A Christmas Story, the classic Christmas movie that everyone has seen a dozen times at least, is getting a sequel. This is not actually the first time this has happened. In 1994, we got a movie called It Runs in the Family. This movie is a continuation in that it is more stories from the same author based on the same characters, just doesn't take place during Christmas. It's the author is Jean Shepherd, and then it also randomly stars Kieran Culkin, because sure, why not? But then we got in 2012 a movie that I almost watched this Christmas, and then I watched a trailer and went, oh no, that's never happening. It was called A Christmas Story 2, and it's basically like American Pie's take on the Christmas story. It looks like, and it just looks terrible. Absolutely looks horrible. So this is not the first time it's gotten a sequel, but this is the first time that the sequel might actually be worth watching, and also be part of a Christmas tradition, should it be a good movie, because it takes place during Christmas. This time they also brought back Peter Billingsley, who was Ralphie in the original movie. This time it is going to take place with him as an adult in the 70s, and it's going to be him with his kids, and after his old man has passed. Potentially, I didn't write down the actress's name, and I'm horrible with remembering names on my own, but potentially the actress who played his mother will also be in this movie, because she is still actively acting in the community and so on and so forth. So sounds like it could be a recipe for a pretty quality Christmas movie. We won't know though for approximately a year and a half. It's not going to be this Christmas, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure it was 2023 in which it is supposed to be coming out. Yes. Yeah. 2023. All right, so that is the movie section. Now let's get into the rumor mill, because rumor mill is where it's at. That is where the things and the stuff happen in the off season, even though this is the final off season episode and we've already covered all that. So we only have 4 rumors for this rumor mill. Seems rather appropriate, being as we've had so much elsewhere. But we do have our first rumor is a Spider-Man rumor. Go figure. Spider-Man, not necessarily directly related to this rumor, but Madam Webb is rumored to be going into production later this year. So this is rumor based on rumor, because Madam Webb has not been confirmed to be the next movie, or even confirmed to be a movie that Sony is going to be working on at all. So We have the rumor that Madam Web is going to happen. We've talked about that rumor. I gave it a percentage a few months ago. At this point, we can't go any higher than 50%. We do know that there is going to be some sort of female-led Spider-Man related property going into production soon. But that's all we can verify. Anything beyond that is purely speculation. This speculation is based on somebody else's speculation of a different thing. So honestly, there's a lot that has to go on in the Spiderless universe in order for Madam Web to make any sense. So I can't give it a high percentage of likelihood. So we're going 40%, and I feel like that is really, really generous. 40% Madam Web's going into production anyway this year. Our next rumor is also a Spider-Man rumor, but not a movie rumor. This is that elusive comic book rumor that we addressed previously. So the comic book rumor is that Jonathan Hickman's next big project is going to be that he's writing Spider-Man with artist Chris Bacalo as his co-conspirator as the other half of the creative team going forward. This has not been, as far as right now, as I'm filming this, has not been confirmed, though I can't see why not. Hickman can kind of do whatever he wants with Marvel, especially since their numbers are also kind of failing these days. So anything he touches kind of boosts that book for however long he's on it. So yeah, if he wants to write Spider-Man, he's probably going to be writing Spider-Man. We're going to give this one an 80% likelihood that Jonathan Hickman and Chris Bacalo are going to be the next creative team behind Spider-Man. And then we have some Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness craziness to get out of the way. It's a few actual rumors. So the first one is that we have almost confirmation that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is going to be in the movie. So the reason why everyone thinks this is a confirmation of a rumor has a lot to do with the Portuguese actress who does the voice for the Scarlet Witch in the Portuguese iterations of the Marvel movies. Just tweeted out a picture with the guy who also does the Portuguese voice for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Saying that good things are coming. So here's the thing about voice acting. Just because you do one voice one time does not mean you're going to continually do that voice until the end of time. It's just not the way the industry works. I mean, granted, it is a different country, so theoretically it could be that way somewhere else, though it's not bleeding likely. So we can't by any means say this is a confirmation. We just know that the guy who does the voice for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is going to be doing a voice, potentially, because there's no Disney anything attached to this. She didn't mention any Disney property or anything like that. Just said that good things are coming. So potentially they're working together on a Disney project. And potentially that Disney project is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And potentially those voices that they did before are still the voices they're doing now. So there's a lot of variables here that have not been confirmed even a little bit. So all of that being said, our likelihood for this one, I'm going to give a little bit higher than I feel comfortable because Disney want to keep contracts with people who do things for them. So that is the only reason why I think this has any legs to stand on. We're looking at 65% likely that Tobey Maguire, based on this information, is going to be in the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness movie. Continuing with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we're talking next about Batman and Superman making their way into the MCU. And I'm only kind of kidding when I say that. Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill both have been rumored by the same source to be in contract negotiations, to show up in the Marvel Universe. The source says that there was a contract sent to Ben Affleck to reprise his role as Daredevil for Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness. That contract did not get signed, so that is not going to happen. But they do go on to say that he is still in active negotiations to come back to the MCU, and those negotiations still kind of revolve around him reprising his role as Daredevil. So Secret Wars, maybe? The other half of this one is Superman, Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is reportedly in active negotiations to be in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Now, this has led to all kinds of speculation, a variant of Adam Warlock, something along those lines of somebody that we already have in the MCU proper, or the biggest fan favorite theory here is that he's going to be coming in as Wolverine. So, there's no... Henry Cavill is a busy man. Let's put it this way. Henry Cavill is a very busy man. He's also very in demand. And I don't know if Disney, I mean, they do print their own money these days, but I don't know if Disney wants to waste the negotiations with Henry Cavill on a one-off movie. That being said, let's get into the likelihoods that either of these two rumors are going to come to fruition. So, Ben Affleck at some point coming back as Daredevil very specifically. I'm actually going to give that one a 70% likelihood because, yes, I think Ben Affleck as a one-off hit makes a lot more sense considering where Affleck is with his career these days and how he kind of feels about the superhero genre just as a general statement. What we know that he's told us these things, yeah, that makes a bit of sense. Henry Cavill, though, coming in as a one-off, 70% there. I don't know if I said that already. So moving over to the Henry Cavill, likelihood that Cavill is going to be coming in as a cameo, as a one-off cameo in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, or even as a shorter contract in two movies, Doctor Strange and then also Secret Wars. I'm giving both of those things the same likelihood. We're looking at about 45% likely that that is going to be the case because, again, if they're going to bring Cavill into the MCU, I feel like they're not going to waste it on cameos. They're going to try and get him for something huge, and this is not it. So all of that being said, nerds, there is a bunch more nerd news and rumors. If you're falling behind and you want to catch up, then you should be able to click or tap the box that appears on your screen right there to the side of my face. If you're listening on the audio, go check out the feed and see all of the previous episodes in which we do these conversations. Thank you very much, nerds, for joining me before we head out. Always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.